Hello everyone, welcome to Power Hour. Our topic today is going to be the modern document template in SharePoint in document libraries using Syntex. So it is an extra cost. It's really cool though. I want to show you how it works. All right, I'm Laura Rogers, and this is Joelle Jobson in the window. And we are, our company is IW Mentor, and we've been doing these Power Hours Wednesdays at 11 for about 11 years now. And we cover topics in SharePoint, Microsoft 365. It used to be called SharePoint Power Hour, but it's geared towards business users. So not necessarily any programming or anything technical or anything super admin-y. So it's always been geared towards that audience in SharePoint, but since Microsoft 365 has so many products that are also geared towards sort of business users, the more power user type concepts, that's what we cover, all those. So SharePoint, Power Apps, Power Automate, Teams, Forms, all that. So I send out a newsletter the day before. If you don't receive it, there's a link right under wherever you're watching this video. There's a link to join, to request to join and to get the newsletter. We have lively chat going on in Teams. We use Teams, so you request to join and we add you as an external user in Teams. And so come chat with us and ask questions and things during the show. It's live, you never know what's going to happen. So yeah, so I'll show you how it all works real quick when I get started sharing my screen. But yeah, we're going to go talk about this document template concept and how you can use it in your SharePoint document libraries. And it is very cool. It's one of those concepts in SharePoint that I feel like there have been different ways to do it over the years. So you've had quick parts, you have a way with a document template action and a flow. I think we did a Power Hour about that. So there's several different ways to basically put fields from your SharePoint library in a document and be able to fill out the document and have dynamic information in it. But this is just a new way, and it's a new modern slick interface. So just kind of look at this and kind of see what you think compared to other ways to do it, and if you think it might be a good fit for your company. So some things like policies and procedures and like maybe project files or statements of work, things that are sort of standard documents. This even has a section, like a conditional section concept that can have a whole section of the document appear and disappear depending on some condition. So a few of these things are pretty unique. So just like with forms, where all these different form products and you have to make this decision, this is another one of those things where you just compare it to different ways of filling out, having document templates and make decisions about it. So no further ado, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Here we are. Okay, this is our chat in Teams. We are in, once you request to join and we invite you, you click accept in the email. You are going to be in this Power Hour channel, Power Hour team, and you go to the general channel and we have these different tabs at the top. I have today's date here. Of course, now it aired out. Here is today with the modern SharePoint document template, and then we can chat. I'm not sure why that one's all aired out now, but you can open up the tab and then chat on the side. So here is the chat, and then you can also just get to the chat just in the regular posts section. So that's where we are, and I'll go ahead and talk real quick about this concept of a document template. So here we have, I'm just calling this a company policy template. So I think a company policy is a good example of just a reason that people would want to have people filling out things in a document. So in this example, we're going to have like the name of the policy, who's the owner of the policy, a date, a department name, maybe a policy type, and then you have just these different sections down the policy. So this is what I've created ahead of time. So for whatever your document is, that's what you can create ahead of time to just be able to have that ready to basically put in fillable fields. And this interface is really going, once we start filling it out, you'll kind of see how it works and then like what it has and what it doesn't have and some differences. So that's what I'm going to start with. And that is just on my computer. I'll close that. And then I'm going to SharePoint. So here, this is some of the links that I shared with you in the files in the notes tab in Teams, with just some of these links about this concept of a modern template. And then I have, let's see, my Mark 8 project team is going to be the site where I'm going to, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a brand new, I have some, I demo company policies a lot, so I have some that already exist. But in this case, it's going to create the columns for me when I go through this modern template wizard. So since I can't use existing columns, I can't already have the columns in the library, I'm just gonna, to show you this, I'm just going to create a new library. So I'll just say blank library, and I'll say it policies, modern template, and create my library. So I'm starting from scratch. All right, and then when you're in your new library, or in any library, when you have this Syntex concept that you've turned on, basically, you can click Create Modern Template. And it is a little buggy, unfortunately, especially for something that costs extra money, but it's brand new, so we'll give them that. All right, so browse this device. I have this Word document that I created just on my computer here, but you could, that template that you created, you could go find it and browse to where it might be if it's in SharePoint already. So I'm just going to go click Browse this device, and here I have all my demo content, and I have my company policy template, and that's what I'm going to use. All right, so you start off with this cool, slick, modern interface where now you're just going to be setting up the template and creating fields. So what you're going to start doing is you can select where you want to have a field, and you have two major choices here to make for each field. So when I say use as a content field, I'll say policy name. When I say use it as a content field, it's actually going to replace, like this text that I just selected, it's going to replace it with whatever the person fills in. So I'll just say that's a single line of text and go save. So now you can see that it kind of put a green box around it. That means it's interactive. So whatever you select is going to be replaced when someone is filling out this template. And you can go back and edit one. So I just clicked on it on the side. Now the difference here, so I just chose to use it as a content field. Content field means that it's going to get replaced. If I say form field, I'll just say cancel and I'll do a new field, and I'll say form field. I can say like maybe policy type. And policy type, maybe I just want it to be a form field, so it's not replacing any content. It's just there's going to be a form on the right side of the screen, and people are going to be filling that out. And it's not going to show in the document. It's just going to be metadata. So, yeah. So I'll just say policy type and say next. And now, so your options here, single line of text, multiple lines of text, number, date, email, hyperlink. I don't have a choice option here. So I'll just say for this one, I'll just say single line of text. I'll just fill out a couple more of these and talk some more about this. So the policy owner, it doesn't give you I'll just say this is a content field owner. And it's showing me what's in the selection. Like I selected this name department thing, so it's showing me what's in there. And when I go next, unfortunately, it doesn't have a people picker. It just has email. So I have email, so you'd actually have to type someone's email address. So that's kind of a negative. And then you also have, I'll do a date here, policy date, content field, and then make that a date. And then with a date, you can pick the format. too. And you can say if you want to include time. And then I'll go ahead and say, I can actually edit this and I'll say department. Oh wait, I already put department in there, but you can edit the document while you're doing this. So I'll say department, and for department, I'm going to say use metadata. So I can say select from manage metadata. So I have this whole taxonomy of all the departments in my company. And you can see here, see it's got like department names and stuff like this. So I'm just going to say I want them to be able to pick from this manage metadata. And that is in my term store. So I can even say allow multiple values if I wanted them to select multiple departments. And then this is that policy type. Now I created policy type, but I created it as a form field. So I'm just going to leave it as a form field so you can see the differences when I'm filling it out. And then we have the purpose. And I'm going to say the purpose is going to be like multi-line text. So content field, so it's going to replace whatever they put in here. And I'll say multiple lines of text. And then I want to show you there is an option. So if I say I want them to pick whether it's a policy or procedure, I would think that I would be able to choose select from choices in a column of a list or library. This is a really weird one. So it is not what you think. So I click select. And I think that it's going to, let's see, I pick my library, and I think that it's going to let me pick from, like, if I have a choice field for them to be able to pick a choice. But it's not, it's when I am interacting with it, it gives me a list of all the documents that are already in the library. And when I pick one of them, it fills in all the fields with all the same fields that other document has. So it's completely not what you think. It's not select, give them a list of choices like policy or procedure. It's a whole different concept of pick another document in the library if you want to populate your document with all the same data it has. So it's a little misleading. So I'm not going to choose that one. I'll just click cancel. And so I would go through here and go, so scope, I'll just do one more. And then use as a content field. And then this one's going to be multiple lines of text. And then again, if I have something that I just want them to fill in, that's just in a form that I don't want to be showing in the document, but I still want it to be metadata in the library, that's when I would create form field here. No content gets replaced. Now, another cool thing I can do, and here is where I'm showing you this concept. So I've got the name of the policy name here. So think about a contract that might have your customer name listed in multiple places, or any like piece of data listed in multiple places throughout the contract or policy. Well, I'm going to edit my policy name field, and look at this. I can go select other places in the document like this. Like I want the company policy name to be displayed in like other places. So now I've selected these other places. So now that whatever I type here is going to show in those multiple places, and they're all listed here. So that's going to let me have one that repeats. See, now they all have like little underlines next to them. So I could click Save Draft. I could publish. Now, when you go through the publishing process, this is where you have to pick what fields you want to publish as columns in SharePoint. Now, with the big fields that have like a lot of text, like the multiple lines of text, I might not want those to be columns in my library because that's just a lot of information that's not necessary to see maybe as a column. But I could publish those as columns. I'm just going to leave those unchecked because that's not something you typically do in the real world, is have giant columns full of like a whole bunch of paragraphs of text. That's just a little overwhelming. So I'll click publish. And then magically, and then that's going to be what it's doing behind the scenes. For those of you who are like old school SharePoint, it's creating a content type, and it's creating these columns in that content type. So what it's supposed to have right here is when you click the new button, it's supposed to now have your new your new template you created listed. So I found that this is kind of buggy. I almost didn't do this as a topic today because it was kind of buggy. I just refreshed the page and now it's appearing here. So it's got my company policy template interactive. So just kind of bear with it. It's just, you might want to refresh the page. I'll show you about a few other things that I've done a couple of times to get it to show again here when it disappears. But now that it exists when I'm creating a new file, because it's a content type, now I can, when I choose edit the new menu, that's where I can go edit it. So I could create multiple templates in this one library and they'd all be listed here. And if I have one that's still, that I just saved as a draft and it's not ready, that would be listed down here too. So this is where I can go click edit and go make changes to it. So that's kind of a weird place where it exists, but it's just when you click new and choose edit new menu. So now I'm going to go ahead and fill one out. So I'll choose company policy template. So now this is the end user perspective. So this is what the end user's doing. They're filling out a form basically. So my policy name, I'll say dress code. And then you can see that as I type the name, it puts it in all the places. And I know quick parts work just like that too. And then for the owner, again, you have to put an email address. It's not a people picker. Policy date, I'll just pick a date. And so you can see as I go, it's dynamically filling in that data in the file. This is going to be my managed metadata. So as I start, it's got type ahead, just like anytime you use managed metadata. So there's my department. Now I've got my purpose here. I've just got some verbiage. I'm just going to paste in there, just a bunch of stuff that Copilot created for me, just a bunch of verbiage. And then policy type, we'll put policy. Create document. And then I have to give it a name. So this will be the dress code. And it's creating. Scott says, would you let it pick from a SharePoint list to bring back the choices in the list? Yes, let's try that. Okay, let's do that in the next, I'll do another iteration. I'll go back and edit it. So now I have a dress code that's filled in. Now this is just a normal document now. So when I just open this file as an end user, come on Word, what are you doing? As I just open this file as an end user, it's just a new file. It's just editable. See, it's like a regular file. So it doesn't have form fields in it anymore. It's just got all the verbiage and it's just like ready to go. So that's an interesting thing that I noticed, just kind of to keep in mind, that it's not going to have the editable fields once you've created it. So that's a little what's different between that and the quick parts option. So also the columns I added, it created it had a checkbox when I was, when it showed what columns I wanted to output, it had a checkbox to say if I wanted to create a new view. So I didn't uncheck the checkbox, so it created a new view and it just added all this stuff to it. But what I could do is I don't need to necessarily create a new view. I could just add like the columns that I already filled in like this. Yeah, you can just add those to any other view. So I don't have to use the view they created. So that's where they are. They're all in the library and they're in there as columns. So now let's go look at a couple more tweaks that we can make. So Scott recommended, he said you could create a SharePoint list and give the SharePoint list the options that you want them to pick from. So I'm going to do that. I'll go ahead and go back to my home page and I'll just say, do I want it to be a policy or procedure? So this is kind of a weird kind of workaround that you have to go to all this trouble, but that's a good idea. Okay, and then I'm just going to put policy and procedure. And this is my little pet peeve. I can't help it. Every time I create a list and I don't need to use it, it doesn't need to have attachments. I don't need to use attachments. I always go to the advanced settings and I go turn off attachments. I go disable them. because it's just, again, any list that you don't need it. It's just presenting end users to something that they don't need, and it's just confusing. So now it doesn't have that extra like attachment thing in here. All right, so now I've got policy or procedure. Now I can go back to my library and let's go edit. We'll edit the template, we'll add policy or procedure, and then we'll use those conditional sections to say if somebody picks policy, it's going to show some certain information. If they pick procedure, it's going to show certain information. So I do edit new menu, and then I go edit my template like this. All right, so for policy type, policy or procedure, see, I already created that policy type down here. So I'm just going to change the one I created. And then, oh no, it doesn't let me change it to be a choice field. So I'll just delete that one. I'll just say delete, don't need it. All right, and then this is going to be policy or procedure. And I'm going to use that as a content field. Policy type. Let's give it a slightly different name than before. And then select from choices in a column of a list or library. So then I'm going to go navigate through this interface and pick. So it's already on the site that I'm on. And then I've got, let's see, policy or procedure is that list I created. And then the title was just the field that I used where I typed if it was a policy or procedure. So now I actually don't want them to be able to add new choices. That's that option when you are filling out, when you're creating a choice column in SharePoint where it has a checkbox to say allow people to add new things. So that means that instead of picking one of the choices, that means you're allowing people to just type whatever they want. And I don't want them to do that. I just want them to pick one of the options I'm presenting them. So now it's going to have policy or procedure for them to select from this interface of where it has to go look at that other list. And then I want to say, let's create, I'll just create one of these conditional sections. So compliance, I'm going to say conditional section. I'm just going to say if, I'm going to make this very obvious, for policies, and I'm just going to say for procedures. So just pretend that these are sections of the document that you would only want to show according to if you pick policy or procedure. So I'll say policies. And then choose a field, and that's my new policy type that I created. Exact match, and I'm gonna write, oh, look at that. It even has the two things from the drop-down. Very cool. So I'll say policy, and if they choose policy. So I can add multiple conditions. Look at that. I can do ands and ors, and I can just go down the page and add multiple conditions in which I'd want this thing to appear. So now I've got that for policies, and now I'll do this section that I want to only show for procedures. For procedures. And that's going to be policy type procedure. Oh, look at that. There it is. Very cool. So now I've added a couple more things. I added the policy type with the choices, added these columns. I'll go ahead and when I go to publish it, I can choose that I want my policy type to be added as a column in SharePoint. So remember, when you're using this, it doesn't let you create the columns ahead of time and then select them. You have to let it create the columns as you're going through this wizard. So I'm going to uncheck to set the default view. So if I left this checked, it would create yet another new view in my library. Let's try. So Scott said if you edit the metadata columns, it won't update the document. I don't think it will. We'll give that a try though. So I'll just go edit. Let's see. I'll edit one of these columns. I'll change the date from 1/7 to 1/10. And that's what I did. So I changed the date, and then I opened the dress code document, And no, it did not change it because these are not dynamic anymore. So as soon as it creates that file, the file just is created. It just exists and it doesn't have anything interactive in it, unfortunately. So that's a big negative. So I'll say new, I'll choose company policy template interactive. Now we get to try those new settings, new things we added to it. So my policy name, this will be vacation policy, and then I'll make me the owner. It makes you put an email address, but it could be any email address with a misspelling or anything. Here's my department. I'll put accounting or something, or account analysis. Policy type. Oh, look at that. So since I picked that title column from SharePoint, it's got a very, very simple, just little drop down here. So that was a really good workaround. So I'll pick policy, and notice that, and let me go paste all this verbiage here. Since I picked policy, then it expanded this policy section, and then I'll change it to procedure. And then now it's showing this section for procedure. So it's got kind of a little white space in here. That's a little awkward, but yeah, you notice it interactively appearing and disappearing. That's a very commonly requested concept for documents where you need to have entire sections, especially for like legal agreements and things where you need to have a whole section that shows according to some, whatever type of agreement it is or something like that. Let's see, review conditional sections. Oh, okay. So it's letting me know that even I filled out this field, but it's not going to be included. So it's giving me a warning basically that even though that it's like not going to show this section, and it is going to show this section. So it's really just like informational. So this one's going to be vacation. Oops, let's see. All right, cool. All right, so now this one has, I have to add that other column. This is the one I deleted. This is the new one, so I gave it a different name. And then now I can see that it's created this new file, and again, it's just static. Now that I've shown you how to create the template and how to use it as an end user, I want to dig a little bit more into some of these settings and kind of hack into it so you can see like what it's actually doing behind the scenes, especially for those of you who are familiar with content types and kind of all these settings in SharePoint. I'm going to go to the library settings, go to more library settings, and notice that it's got content types here, and it added this as a content type, company policy template interactive. And it shows me those fields I created, like that one that I removed from the content type. I removed it from the little form. It didn't delete the column in SharePoint policy type. It's still in there. So I could still just manually go click that field and go delete it like that, just directly in SharePoint. Also, I've seen if you want to make it so that that's the only option they have on the new menu, one way to do it is like this: take off the document. Let me click cancel. We'll look at the difference between the modern new menu and editing that and the kind of the old way. So I could uncheck some of these other things and click save. And then on the new menu, that's the only thing available. And then, but the other way would be in my library settings. And if you ever find that this is buggy, like you create a template and then you don't see it in there. I had this happen a few times just trying this out. I created a template and I didn't see it anywhere in the library. I went through the whole, create a modern template. It completely disappeared. I couldn't find it. I found it here in the content types. So if you don't see this section here, you can go to the advanced settings and you can say allow management of content types and just change it to yes. And all that does, it just lights up this little middle section here. And then when I didn't see it showing in the new menu, but I knew that I created it, I just went to this change new button order screen, and I literally just moved it up to the first thing in the list and just clicked OK. Or you could just open this screen and just not change anything and click OK. And that, for some reason, kind of gave it a kick in the pants, and then it worked. Then it appeared again. So if you see it not appearing over here, I had this. The main time this happened was when I created a modern template and I didn't click publish the first time. I just clicked save as draft. That is when it all ended up being super buggy. Like from that point on. So if you create one and you just click publish the very first time you create it, it seems like that gets around the bugginess of everything disappearing. So do y'all have any other questions? That conditional part is very cool, isn't it? This is Syntex, Microsoft Syntex. So it is one of those, it's something you have to kind of install, and it is a pay as you go service. So it's going to charge you, I don't know exactly how much per, modern template that I fill out, but yeah, it's going to be like probably, pennies, or like 50 cents or $1, or I'm not sure what it is, but it's going to keep track of what how you're using it, and it's going to charge you for those. So I'm going to go look at my bill right now. It's going to be like $1,400 for, I'm just kidding. They would never do that. Don't have any other questions. So in summary, it's only been half an hour, but that's fine. What do you think, Joelle?
I think it's really cool and useful. It's just that it's tucked under Syntex. So, that's
yeah, I wonder if it's worth, we'll see if it's worth it.
Yeah.
Cool. So we have the concept of quick parts. We did a quick parts power hour literally 10 years ago. And so quick parts have been around since Office 2010 came out, and that's a similar concept, but quick parts stay dynamic. So if you change the metadata in the columns later, it updates it in the file. And then you also have another thing that's like a premium feature when you create a flow, that it has an action called Microsoft Word template, and that is a premium connector, but it is very cool. It lets you create a document template and have it fill all the fields out, and it does that in the flow though, so it's not a user interaction in the document. Like, it just basically takes data, puts it in a document, and then outputs a document. So this is more of like an end user having a nice, modern, slick interface that they're presented with to create a file. And maybe if you want them to create the file and you don't like the whole part where they might open it later and randomly edit something in there because it's not interactive anymore, maybe you could create a flow that when a new file gets created in this library, it just takes it and converts it to a PDF and then deletes the original. Like, you could do extra things like that. So, but yeah, I love the slick interface, and especially the conditional sections and the way it's got that little form on the right side. So that's my synopsis of what I think. Any last comments or questions? All right, well, when you go to iwmentor.com and you go to the schedule page, you can see when we're having all of our power hours. We've got a big instructor-led Advanced Power Ups and Power Automate week-long class coming up next month. And this lets you know when all the power hours are. You can sign up for the newsletter to find out when we are having the next one, and what you can vote for the topics. And yeah, I guess we'll just see you. We're back in the swing of things, so we'll see you next time, and they'll be a lot more frequent than they have been in the last month. So I'm glad. Happy New Year again to everybody. I'm glad everybody had a good vacation, and we will just say over and out. Bye, Joelle.